How to Play Mille Fiori by DeVere and Schmidt Games. Mille Fiori is a card drafting and action selection game in which players are going to be dealt 5 cards per round from this deck of cards. They're then going to select one card each round secretly, simultaneously. They're going to take that card face down. They're then going to take their entire hand and pass it to the person on their left. Then, in player order, players are going to then activate the action that they chose and do the associated action. This game can be described as a point salad game because every time you take an action, you're going to be scoring immediate points, as well as you may be scoring additional point bonuses based on the area you entered. You're also given the opportunity, typically, to gain an extra action as well. So on your turn, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be selecting one of the cards out of your hand to be taking an action in one of the 5 areas of the board. The 5 areas are called workshops, residences. These 2 areas are called townspeople. This is called the harbor, and this is the trade area. Each area works a little bit differently, but anytime you take an action, what you're going to be doing is placing one of your diamonds out on the board. The game is going to continue until one player has placed out their 27th diamond. You'll notice I have 3 set off to the side, because again, you can gain extra actions on your turn. So if on your final turn you place out your 27th diamond, but need to then place out more, you have 3 left over that you can use that with. The game can also end if this deck of cards runs out. You would then finish that round and complete the game. Now I'm going to describe how each action works. So as I mentioned, every area has kind of 3 things that happen when you play an action there. So first things here in the workshops, I'll show you an example of playing. If I were to play this card, what this means is I can take one of my diamonds and I can place it on any matching symbol that matches this in the workshop. You'll notice the workshop has 4 symbols up here. So in this case, I could take any of these symbols and match that symbol. When I do that, I score 1 point for every connected symbol of that I have. So in this case, I would just score immediately 1 victory point for green. Now, if green had, as an example, placed a diamond here, because they had that symbol, I would score 2 points. If I then place one here, I score 3 points, etc. In the workshop area, the point bonus comes from as soon as you place your 4th symbol, so you have then covered all 4 symbols, you get to take one of your diamonds and immediately cover the most valuable one of the bonus point tokens, scoring areas that is not currently taken. So in this case, I would then score 20 additional points if I covered the 4th symbol. Finally, the way to get an extra action in this game, you'll notice every area has a symbol that looks like this. This means take an extra action. If you are the last person to surround one of these symbols, so in this case, you'll notice purple already has 2 there, but if I were to place this here because I had placed a card with that matching symbol, I would immediately score the points as usual. It is worth noting that this symbol up here in the workshops actually scores you 2 points per. Every other symbol scores you 1 point per. So in this case, I would actually score 6 points for placing there. Then I would immediately get to take an extra action. The way extra actions work in this game is if you look above the player board here, in a 2 or 4 player game, you put out 9 extra action cards. And anytime you anytime you gain an extra action, so in the workshops you surround them, every other area has a little bit of a different way to gain them. You can then immediately pick one of the action cards from above the game board here and play it as if you played it from your hand. So you just get to take another turn, essentially. The next area, the residences, if you place a card, the pink area or purple, depending on how you see that color, is you take a diamond of your own type and you just place it on the next available slot. So in this case, I would just immediately score 3 points. If you cover an additional spot and it's still your color, you score all of the points in a chain So now I would score 8 points. If I put one here, I would score 9 points, etc. In this area, you get an extra action if you cover your third different number. So if I were to cover a 1 here, I would then get to immediately take an extra action. The bonus points area comes for covering your fourth different number, and you can get a second additional action by covering your fifth different number. The townspeople areas of the board are broken into two different colors, but they work identically to each other. Just this area has its own kind of symbols and rules, and this area has its own symbols and rules, but they are identical to one another. So here I have this symbol. If I were to play this card, this allows me to take one of my diamonds and put it in the appropriate townspeople section. So in this case, you'll notice it does have this cross symbol on it. I don't actually need to place this on the cross symbol. What this card is showing me is if I put it on this cross, I will double all of the points that I'm about to describe for you. Not the bonus points, just the immediate points. If I put this diamond on the bottom row, I immediately score 1 point. Here, since I am matching the symbol, that would mean I immediately score 2 points because I double my 1 point I just scored. If I were to put this here, I immediately score 3 points, but in this case again, since it is a cross, I would double that, so I immediately score 6. And then the people that are below me are going to immediately score 1 point each, because I'm not allowed to place in the second row unless this diamond can fully sit atop the other two. Here, this diamond would, theoretically kind of slide down. So here, it sits there. In the townspeople areas, you score your bonus points by covering the 3 different symbols. So you'll notice each area has its own 3 discrete symbols. You then put a diamond on the highest available bonus point area. You get your bonus action. If you are the player that covers the top spot, you then get to take an extra action. The trade area of the board cards look like this. When you take a trade area card, you take a diamond and you place it on one of the matching symbols in the trade area. You then immediately score points for how many diamonds are in that trade area at that time. So in this case, when I put this down, each of these diamonds is now worth 2 points. So green would score 2 points and purple would score 2 points. Now, if I were to place this down, let's say again, I put this here. Now each of these are worth 3 points. So I score 3, 6 points, and purple actually scores 6 points as well. Now let's say that this was a swan symbol here. This is how you gain your extra action. When I take this action, now this is worth 4 points for me, 4 points for red, but you'll notice orange gets 8 points. Anytime you take this action and give another player more points than you got, you get to take an extra action. This area of the board, much like the other ones, is you get your bonus by covering the 4 different symbols. Finally, the harbor area. Cards look like this. When you take a harbor action, 2 things are going to happen. Firstly, you're going to take one of your diamonds and you're going to place it on one of the harbor spots over here. If it is the first or second diamond on a row, nothing is going to happen immediately. The harbor area scores when the 3rd diamond is placed in a row. In this case, if I put this diamond here, these 3 diamonds will then score immediately based on how many of these trade commodities are filled. So in this case, since 3 of these commodities are filled, each of the diamonds over here is worth 6 points. So orange, purple, and green would all score 6 points because this row is almost full. If this row had been more full, like that, then each of these diamonds would score 10 points instead of 6. Additionally, you'll notice in the top of this card, you'll also notice in the top of every card in the game, there is a number with a little ship wheel on it. When you take a harbor action, you also get to move your ship that many spaces down the track. Wherever you land, you score that many victory points. So in this case, I would just score 1 victory point. You can also land on extra action spots down here. Eventually, you do get to the end of this track where you can score 10 points and get an extra action, and then you cannot move along any further. When you take a harbor action, you do the harbor scoring, and you get to move your ship. Anytime you take a different action in the game or play a card, instead of taking the main card action, you can forfeit the action and instead take the ship movement. So for any card that's not a harbor action, any of these, if I were to play a card like this, instead of putting a token on, or my diamond on this, I could just move my ship one space forward, which sometimes can be helpful if the players in front of you took some actions that you were hoping to take. Again, the game is going to end when a player puts out their last diamond of the 27. There are 3 extras you have just in case you get some bonuses on your final turn. A round ends after so every player is dealt 5 cards in a round. At the end of the round, you'll have 1 card left over, so you'll play one pass, play one pass, play one pass 4 times. Your final card is actually going to go up to the top of the board to become a possible bonus action for future rounds of the game. And the start player token passes 1 player to the left at the end of every round. I hope this helps play this game. I really enjoy this one. Have a good one.